Happy New Year, everybody. This is Bacter. The holidays are over. The family has gone back home, and everybody's eaten all of my homemade Gruyere biscuits. So what better way to ring in the new year than with rolling a new character and doing a little space piratry? I've rolled a character who's lucky, which means they get better gear, but frail. Now, that person's shield went down, but unfortunately I stepped into their awareness bubble, so they shot me. Frail means the first wound that I take, I die. There's no chance to save yourself with the ship, but I was in the unique position in that ship of getting shot with a non-lethal round like you do from Offworld, so I was actually able to survive the mission. I'm going to be heavily editing a lot of missions, but I left in these first couple just honestly for amusement's sake, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. This is literally the first and second mission, so I should have thrown my weapon here at that guy, but I chose to dash. I clipped the wall, of course, and I'm now directly in the path of this. Again, you can see that it's an off-world ship because of the nice clean white lines. Non-lethal round, so I get shot and ejected again, failing the mission a second time. Now, here's my third mission. Normally with a frail character, you'd be dead. I have to get over to that telepad in 8 seconds, and I have to collect a key in the meantime. Things are not looking good. I can dash over here. Fortunately, I have one gun available to me. This guy has the key and is now toast. So I've got to get to the telepad in 5 seconds? Probably not. That guy misses me with his shot, fires again and misses, and I'm blown out into space. 3 missions in a row failed with a frail character is a bizarre kind of failure at success at failure, something like that. Anyway, obviously this third mission here, nobody had much shields or armor, so it went well. You can see I've got a rechargeable visitor and a rechargeable impact concussive grenade launcher, which is great. That is armor piercing. And so lucky really helps things. It means in crates, again, you're more likely to get restockable, self-charging, or otherwise legacy gear. Now, the zoom here was being a little futzy, but you can see that was a liberation. So even though that was just like the first mission I did well at all, it actually got me a new station, and it unlocked mistake missions, which are, let me just tell, I will show them soon here. They are the hardest non-glory missions, and they are just absolutely bananas. I'll need much better kit before I can do those. You can see I've got a high-capacity stealth shield, long blade and a wrench, which is fine, and then rechargeable visitor and impact concussive grenade launcher. I want to start buying those overpriced mystery crates, and I need that armor-piercing short blade. But again, that automatic concussive armor-piercing rifle would be incredible. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to get enough money to get that, before things get, restocked in the stores. Anyway, a few missions later, and I was able to afford at least the armor-piercing short blade, so let's see that in action against armored targets. That guy was armored, which normally means I'd have to use some kind of loud explosive. Now, here's that stealth shield at work, by the way, because these guys would see me normally, but there we go, just pop the stealth shield. They'll still know something's wrong when you enter into their bubble, but they can't really do anything about it. This is just to show that, again, as you accumulate more tech and more gear, you can become very respectable. The nice thing about these later cycles is you still have, the spin-up where you start off with no money and no gear and you have to collect it, but later on, you can take on pretty much anything. All challenges become overcomable, and you've gotten a lot more skills at this point. So here's me using that impact concussive grenade round. Very nice. Took down the armored target there. Now I'm quite close to the teleporter, and if you remember, I've now got a rechargeable sidewinder and a subverter as well. So that leads me to think that I ought to be doing. I do love a good grenade. I ought to be doing more of what people suggested I do in the past, which is if somebody's going to get away, rather than just shutting down the teleporter, you can zap it with a subverter, and now instead of escaping, he's teleported out into space, so all I've got to do now is break the window, get my escape pod, and collect my target. That's a 1 mission at this point. However, you may notice that I'm still showing what's happening, and normally I'm doing a lot of editing, as you can clearly see on these parts, and I'm going to start putting in more interesting things. Yeah, the camera wasn't having any of it. It assumed I wanted to collect myself, which is understandable, except that there was another target that I needed. He didn't have enough oxygen, and he just died in space because it wouldn't zoom in. I think that's kind of crappy. Anyway, here I am. I overshot with the concussive grenade launcher there. That is a Predator. I think I've talked about them before, but these guys are like the cream of the crop of the... they had 7 seconds till capture. I'm toast. I've got a swapper. I've got a sidewinder. If you step inside that purple bubble, they just teleport to you immediately and kill you, and for my character, that's an instant death, because I'm frail. I don't have any more concussive grenade rounds. It's too big of a bubble. You need a long-distance subverter or crash beam. The only thing I could try is maybe I think if I put on this high-capacity stealth shield, maybe that will count as stealth, so he'll know that I'm there, but won't be able to teleport to me and kill me. It's really the only shot I've got, and it doesn't work. Unfortunately, the Predator knows about you. Now, technically, normally, you'd be captured if you entered a enemy station, but because I was frail, that was the first wound, and I did. That's very sad. That was a very unsuccessful run. So I could either get air and silencer with this particular character, or vindictive. None of these guys seem that bad. That's one of the challenge characters, so we're going to have to take them at some point. Dying just means you have 10 minutes, which is kind of fun. Silencer is, of course, incredible. Vindictive is okay, but not great. Ex-Sovereign is very interesting, so I think I'm going to go with the Ex-Sovereign. It basically means I can dash farther with short blades and recover faster after dashing with the long blades. Now, I think I've showed this off before, this green beam connecting those two guys, but it basically means as soon as one of them is taken down, the other one immediately knows about it. Now, you can see here I've actually got a rechargeable stealth shield, which is an absolutely incredible piece of gear. I will, of course, be getting long blades and short blades with this character as very soon as I can, but despite how it might have looked, the rest of that mission was successful. I ended up getting enough points to liberate a new station. I'm, of course, going for the rechargeable crash beams, so as very soon as I can get those, then I will have a reliable, consistent way to deal with shields. Right now, I'm okay on armor. I have armor-piercing short blades, which was like the main thing I wanted to get early. Rechargeable crash beams is just going to be the next thing. If I can get a rechargeable, or heaven help me, a self-charging crash beam, we'll do that. Of course, as we go along, I'm still wanting to do the defector missions. I noticed that people seem to be really in the fandom, the little I've seen, really of two minds about the defector missions. You either love them or you hate them, and I can understand both perspectives. I'm in the love them camp, personally. And I think the rationale is, if you don't like them, they don't get you anything. There's no unlockables, there's, as far as I know, no achievements, not even for like the special ones. They're just sort of these extraneous, bolted-on part of the game, but for people who, I have no idea why I missed that, for people who genuinely enjoy the gameplay and the challenge of this, which is really the reason to play it, just because you like the gameplay and, you like the challenge of going into a ship with a really unique piece of gear, that's the reason to do these, because they give you some really high-level gear, but not very much of it, which is not something that would happen in normal play, basically. I mean, by the time you have, access to a self-charging subverter grenade launcher, you're also going to have filled your inventory with other goodies, and so, at some point, almost any ship. Now, some ships are still intense enough that they become challenges, no matter how spicy your gear is, but almost any ship becomes very doable, more or less a cakewalk. Not the defector missions, because you do have unique bits of... I was worried the explosive was going to go off there. You do have unique bits of gear, but not a lot of them, crucially. So, you have to know, what can I do with a subverter grenade launcher? Now, I don't always do what you're supposed to do with the defector missions. That's a particular weakness of mine, in that I don't always fully use the gear. So, like here, I don't think I'm ever going to use that subverter grenade launcher. There's just not a whole lot to do with it on this particular ship. It's just people with heat bubbles, really. Not even a lot of turrets. So, I do try to use them when possible. But I especially the exotic challenges, where you go into a ship with no weapons but 2 self-charging energy shields, or something silly like that. I don't know why I was going after that. I certainly don't need it, but whatever. I was here to assassinate, and that's what I did. So at this point, with the ex-Sovereign character, you can see I've got little up marks near the long blade and the armor-piercing short blade. That's why I included this mission right here. I was here to save somebody, but this is a war zone mission, which means after a short time, the ship starts getting bombed, and you really can't control which room gets bombed, and if it happens to be a room with something important in it, well, that's just tough for you. I will show off one of those later, but those are some pretty funny missions, generally. Okay, now watch this. I use the subverter there, and I can able to get in close using my stealth shield, even though people know I'm there. I take out the shield generating guy first. I don't think there's any way of getting through a gifted shield, if that makes any sense, like a shield that's given to somebody because they're close to a protector. But look at that. You don't actually use the item teleporter when you're standing on a sword, you just pick it up. So, basically, if enemies are clustered like that, any number of them is easily takeable out, and ladies and gentlemen, the Everything Gun is another unique piece of gear. This gun, when you fire it, it looks in a fairly large radius around you for anything on the ground, any weapons, any items, anything loose that you can pick up. Teleports them to you, basically, and fires them shotgun style straight ahead of you. They have a lot of concussive force and will bounce off of walls, and will absolutely knock you out if you, don't fire it correctly. But see, there's the radius, you get a whole bunch of stuff, you fire, and down he goes. That was the Predator taken out, and the rest of that mission went fine, so I have a new Liberation available. I forget if I talked about, but Predators are actually nice, because if you take them out, away from rechargeable crash beams, that's great. If you take them out, ghost missions too, you get a sword which has a one-use thing where it can just cut through a shield, which is of course extremely handy. So here we've got a Sidewinder and a wrench. A little bit easier to use. I'm actually not as thrilled with the crash swords, which is what the Predators use as I could be. Yeah, I Sidewindered right in front of the turret. Great job there. Nice thing about Defector missions, of course, that you can restart them. Anyway, I think this one's supposed to be a challenge, but 205 seconds is like, except in the most brutal of ships imaginable, more than enough time to get anywhere. So, whatever. It's a swapper, excuse me, not a Sidewinder. What is it? Oh, yeah, crash sword, crash blades? It's crash blades. The ones that the Predators drop. The one use really kills it. I mean, if you could get like a self-charging variant or something, that would be mighty, but you are rarely going to have a situation where it's worth it to carry around an entire inventory item that does nothing except take out one shield. There's normally going to be more than one, especially on the harder missions where you don't actually want that. I'm not using guns and grenades enough. I like to go quiet in games like this. It's just a natural inclination of mine. If I'm playing Thief or something, I always want to go through and not fight anybody. Of course, the game actively encourages it, maybe a little bit more there. But I do recognize that I need to be a little more proactive when it comes to going in loud. I'm going to try to do that with some characters. You notice that I'm really heavily editing a lot of this. I'm leaving in the Defector missions because those tend to be unique. Ooh, that was pretty close there. But unless there's something notable about the other missions that I go through, like introducing you to war zones, or, I don't know, showing you how I can fail 4 times with a Frail character and not die, until I eventually do. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of editing out. The goal of this game is to liberate the 4 strongholds that each of the major factions have in here, and once that's done, you can get some plot points. And again, I'm going to be doing a plot dump here pretty soon. But in the meantime, there's just a few more missions than there are new things for us to look at, if that makes any sense. Check out that self-charging key cloner. I love these overpriced mystery crates. I've got an incredible amount of gear right now. I really need to do the personal mission for this bounty hunter, which I think is going to happen, the beginning of next video or something like that. And then I'll have to take on some kind of a challenge. We'll just see what else we can show. Because at this point, there are different classes of missions out there, of course. There are ghost missions where you can't raise any alarms. There's pacifist missions where you're not allowed to kill anybody. Or, you're not... I think pacifist is you're not allowed to harm anybody. No knocking out or killing. Those are quite tricky. Bloodless is much easier, where you're just not allowed to kill anybody. There's challenge stuff like that. but really, basically any normal mission is going to be more or less going to go down the same way. I can get different gear and show that off, but I'm going to start showing challenges. So I was trying to do one with Frail, but that didn't go super well. Hopefully now that I've got a bit more gear, and even when I'm doing challenge missions, there's you really have to stick with like easy and medium missions for 1 or 2 just to get some money, just to get some gear. So I'm probably going to do that, and then once I'm rolling with like a decent amount of kit, then I'll start showing what those later challenge situations are. Here, this is just around to sort of show, this is like the last mission of this video, and just to show what I can do with my gear. Now, this isn't a particularly hard level. I mean, there's not really many twists and turns to it, which is sort of what I was getting at a bit. I mean, yeah, people can teleport, but now I'm used to that. I know about heat shields. I know about the life links that they can have with each other. I've got counters to everything, and more importantly, I really like that they show you where people are when you zoom out. I know what to do in most situations I come in contact with. There's more things, of course. There's unique ships you can get. There's glory missions, mistake missions, plenty of stuff to show. But this lead-up that I'm going through here, I'm just, you know how it is. Boy, do I have some nice gear with this guy, though. This is going to be a lot of fun to show off his personal mission. And what do we get in the final crate? An emergency shield, not that good. Okay, next time, we're going to start some challenges. We're going to do this personal mission. It's going to get crazy in 2019. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.